Discovery Pod with Eve. I am really excited about today's episode. We've got the founder of Bags and Grace. So please make sure you watch this episode on the Discovery Pod with Eve's YouTube channel, or you can listen to us every Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific time on Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, or wherever podcast is available. If you've got any questions regarding what I'm wearing, you can also check it out on our YouTube channel, or you can DM me, Eve Richards, on Instagram. I am so excited to be hosting today's episode with my good friend, actress Melissa Smith. I can't even talk today. But Melissa is an actress who recently relocated from Seattle to LA. And ever since she came, she's been working consistently. So it's always nice to have Melissa host with me. Melissa, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Of course. You know, I am just so grateful that we were able to spend quality time with your spouse, Matt, and son, Jaden. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. Thank you for hosting.
Of course. You know, what I really liked about it was we went to Greystone. It was such a beautiful day. Greystone Mansion is such a beautiful historic place.
It is. And the list of TV shows, movies, music videos goes on and on. You know, things took place at that mansion.
It's incredible. I would love to one day, hopefully, be in a movie or something that's actually filmed in that location. It's just beautiful.
Yes,
Beautiful
the views are amazing. It's so much Century City, everything. It's just amazing.
You know, one of those things that, just looking back at the time we spent with your family, for me, it was because my family, as you know, is back east. Mm-hmm. But I just felt so sad for you because I know what it feels like when you have family members visit. I remember when my mom and dad were alive, or now when my Aunt Susan visited me from Boston recently, and I took him to the airport. It's just such a sad, and I know you're struggling, but I am proud of you for continuing to forge ahead, even though it's difficult leaving your family behind. So I'm going to continue asking, what's keeping you motivated?
Support system, work, good friends, good circle of friends. You know, I have, like I said, you are a great support system for me. Roger's a great support system for me. Everybody keeps, rallying around me when I get down, because there are times that, I just, want to, throw in the towel and just go home. But it's my will to be here, and then everybody else's positivity behind me.
Awesome.
That keeps me here and keeps me going.
So for anyone listening, remember, regardless of whatever difficulty you're going through, the key for us is surrounding yourselves with people who motivate you, people who uplift you.
Yes.
Never give up, regardless of your circumstances. And it's a great segue because we've got an amazing guest. Mm-hmm. I was fortunate enough to go to his downtown location in downtown LA, Bags and Grace, several weeks ago. It's so incredible what he's been able to do.
It is.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I went the following right after our podcast.
Yeah,
I went,
last week.
Yes, I went down, and it was just all the things he has and how generous he is. It's just incredible. I was looking around just in awe of how much he takes care of everybody.
It's incredible. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce the CEO of Bags and Grace, Tom Provost. You will hear all about him. Not only is he the CEO of this wonderful organization, he was an actor. He's a director. He's a screenwriter. He does it all. Mm-hmm. So it is wonderful to have Tom with us today. Tom, welcome to the Discovery Pod with Eve.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Good.
Awesome.
And good to see you both again.
You as well.
You as well. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a couple questions for you.
Yes.
Okay, so you grew up in Austin, Texas, which is honestly a very beautiful city. did you always have a passion for movies, or when you were growing up, or
I
is that something
did.
you
I
always
mean,
wanted to do?
yeah, my earliest memory as a child was sitting in a movie theater, and I
Okay.
knew then at, I don't know, I guess like 3 years old, that's what I want to do. And so I
You
was
sound like
obsessed
me.
with movies my whole life.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, always wanted to act. I wanted to be up on the big screen, and so I did a lot of acting in my
Same.
20s and 30s. But um, in my teens, I really started also falling in love with behind the camera and went to film school and eventually and making more of a living writing and directing and television editing also.
Wow. So everything, you dabbled in a little bit of everything.
Everything.
Got
I
it.
get bored, so I like to do a lot of different things.
That's great. Learning all the aspects. That's a good thing to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So it's a great segue into the next question. When you worked as an actor, how did you stay grounded and maintain a sense of self, in an industry that can be very image focused?
That's a really good question. And I would say my answer is the same as what you all were just talking about, which is I was blessed and still am blessed to have a very strong support group of family and good friends that when things get difficult and, in acting in particular can get so difficult, the rejection, trying to get jobs, trying to earn money, trying to make a living, all that kind of stuff. When you have people that you can count on and that can support you and give you a shoulder to cry on when you need it, it's so important. And one of the things I find in this work with the charity is that there are just so many people in the world who don't have that support network, and it's so important to have when you're in a difficult situation.
Totally
Agree.
agree.
Totally agree. So, what is your favorite movie genre? And do you have any movies that you would watch over and over again? Because I know I do.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I do.
I guess my favorite, I mean, I like everything, but my favorite genre tends to be scary movies. I love scary movies and thrillers.
Oh my gosh.
Um, but I tend to watch over and over again certain movies that I have. It's a whole long therapy session, but I have justice issues. I am very much for justice and helping people who
Yes.
are downtrodden. And so there's certain movies like,
Bravo.
yeah. So Aaron Brockovich, I can watch every day. Any
Okay.
movie
Oh,
like
my
that
favorite.
that's about something wrong that has
Yes.
happened, and these true stories are in Brockovich, In the Name of the Father, that we see somebody fighting for injustice and they win. Ironically, the movie that kind of started that for me is Chinatown, one of the best, for me, top five movie ever made.
Wow.
And that movie is about injustice slash justice, but in that movie, evil wins, right? And I saw that movie when I was 11. My mom and I watched it on TV, and I freaked out at the end because at that age, I had never seen a movie or read a book that didn't end perfectly. It was always
Yeah.
happily ever after. So and I was so invested in the movie and so invested in the characters. And when that ended so badly, I think it's the most devastating, powerful ending in any movie. I freaked out. And I remember my mom sat with me. I was so angry. And she said, I was like, why? Why would they end the movie this way? And she said, you have to know, Tom, there are evil people out there,
Yeah.
and sometimes they do win. And this movie is a calling card for all of us to fight against those
Wow.
people and
Oh,
to try to right the wrongs that are done in society. And it clearly had a big effect on me.
wow. That's so powerful. So, reading about how you started Bags and Grace is inspiring. Melissa and I was there last Monday. It seemed like ages ago because it was such a wonderful day to be a part of that. And I think Melissa was there last Thursday. So, knowing that you're a very successful director, writer, why did you want to tackle the problem with the unhoused? I mean, it's such a difficult issue to tackle, and I applaud you for it.
Well, thank you. And it is very difficult. There's no one easy solution, and it's why it is so difficult to solve. But at the same time, you might not be able to solve the huge, enormous problem, but you can go to individuals every day and help each individual that you can see. And so I had a job where I had to do a commute across Los Angeles every day for a while. And it took me into areas that I did not know, even though I'm a big Los Angeles guy.
Yeah.
And so I was just started seeing the problem. And so initially I was just making little tiny bags of food to give to people if I saw somebody in the street. or standing at the freeway exit ramp, holding a sign. And to be honest, I kind of feel like I've just stepped back and watched the charity grow. It just kind of
Wow.
has this life of its own. And of course, now as you see the bags are, I have one here.
Yeah,
I've grown from this little tiny bag I had in the car to this big bag of stuff.
that's incredible.
And we
Wow.
go out and distribute the bags to anyone we can find on the street, in a tent, in a doorway, sleeping under an overpass. And we give them food and water and a bunch of sundries and socks and
Yeah,
blankets
Yeah.
and sweat tops,
wow.
whatever they need.
Yeah.
And good quality.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask. What are some of the items that you do put in the bags?
Yeah. So, all right. So, so we do water, lots of water. I want people to feel cared for. And
Yeah.
so I kind of pride myself. I don't put anything in the bag that I wouldn't eat myself. So we have like Starkist tuna. We have Campbell soup products, all kinds of Costco products, nuts and
Wow.
chicken mix. And we have protein drinks. And I can't find it right here. We also do coconut water, things like that.
Oh,
But
coconut
we also
water.
do socks, hand warmers, toe warmers.
Oh,
We have Mylar blankets and toothpaste, just all kinds of stuff. And if you can see behind me, we have bags that are white, and I will give to anybody. But the colored bags have feminine hygiene products in them. So
That's
when
awesome.
about three-quarters of the people I run into are men,
Hmm.
but
yeah.
there are, quite a few women. And so we give them the colored bags because they have tampons and maxi pads and panties, things like that.
That's
That's
fabulous. Because
incredible.
I remember somebody brought up, and it's amazing because you thought about this too, because somebody brought up, oh, how about some jerky? And you said why you don't include jerky in the bag.
Yeah. So when I was first making it's great. When I was first making the little bags, just
Hmm.
that I was handing out on my own, the first thing I thought was protein. People need protein. Beef
Hmm.
jerky is a great source of protein. And I get to know people. And so there was
Yes.
this one gentleman and his family I got to know, and I was talking with them, and I
Wow.
said, "What else do you need?" And he said, "Well, I don't have many teeth, so I need
Oh,
soft food." And I was
oh,
like, "Ooh, beef jerky, bad idea." So that's why we moved to, tuna fish uh,
wow.
and Vienna sausages, soft protein. So
Oh,
uh, every time I go out at least twice a week and do the bags. And every time I go out, I learn something new. So the bag is constantly evolving and changing for what the people on the street need.
wow. It's so incredible to see what you're doing. And kudos to you for tackling such a difficult issue. How do you stay motivated? Because, again, it's a very difficult
Yeah.
issue to tackle.
I mean, if you look at it again from the broad standpoint, you would almost want to just not do anything
Yeah.
because we now have 80,000 and plus homeless people, unhoused people on the streets in Southern California. I think one big reason is if you don't have a place to live, you're going to come to Southern California because our weather is so nice. You
Right.
aren't
Yes.
dealing with cold and lots of rain and stuff like that. But I just have to think of it in terms of the individual, not the huge problem.
Yeah.
And one thing I try to tell people um, is I think a lot of people can drive around and look at people on the street who are in a really difficult situation and they may not have clothes. Or, I mean, I run into people sometimes who don't even have clothes or a place to go to the bathroom and they think, I'm not like them, but they all are like us. We're all the same.
Hmm.
And yes, somebody might be addicted to drugs, somebody might be a schizophrenic. Um, those people really need help. In fact, up to be blunt, the schizophrenics I talk to are usually the most entertaining and interesting, smart people that I run
Wow.
into. But there's so many people just like us who, again, didn't have a support network and they lost a
Yes.
job.
Yeah.
They hurt, broke their leg, and all of a sudden they have no support network and they just end up on the street. And
Yeah.
it's impossible to crawl your way back.
Yeah.
So we just want to try to help those people.
Yeah.
And a bag will keep somebody alive 3 to 5 days with the contents of the bag. And the other slight difference with our charity, there are a lot of great homeless charities and people working 247 in Los Angeles and the surrounding counties to help. But if you are unhoused, you have to find them and go to them, which
Yeah.
sometimes is impossible.
Right.
So one of the things we do is we go to you. We go and bring directly to people on the street. They don't have to find us. We find where they are asleep or living and give them the help.
Just to piggyback on that question, just because this is such a huge issue, and what you're doing is incredible. What's the call to action to everyone listening? Because we've got a global audience, and obviously, this is going to be seen on various platforms. So, what's the call to action?
I would say that's going to be different for every individual person. There might be somebody like me who's willing to get in their truck and fill a bag and go out and talk to somebody and give them that. For a variety of reasons, some people might not want to do that. I mean, I even go into areas that are a little bit dangerous and have had a couple of scary
Wow.
experiences. So if you don't want to go out, you can find an organization or find mine and come down and help me fill the bags. I always need help filling the bags. And of course, you can just donate. Bagsandgrace.com. 100% of every dollar that comes into the charity goes straight to the bags. I pay for all the administrative costs, and I
Wow.
found a donor to rent the space for me. So your money, if that's all you can do, that's amazing, and you will help. I also, if somebody's out there listening, we are always looking for grant money. And frankly, I need Starkist and Campbell's and all Vienna Sausage, all these people. It's very easy for these corporations to give me product, and
Yes.
it's easy for them. It's hard for me to get them to.
Yeah.
So if somebody out there knows how to help me get corporate donations, I would love that also.
For sure, definitely. Definitely, that would be wonderful. So, is the city or the county helping to donate at all, or is this all just off word of mouth?
We actually had someone from the mayor's office here last week, and
Okay.
she is working with the mayor to hopefully help us. A lot of government programs, understandably, are focused on what they call housing first. And so a lot of government money isn't necessarily available for a charity like mine because I'm not focused on housing.
Yeah.
Mm,
I'm focused on keeping people alive until they get into a house,
okay.
or someplace better to live. But they are trying to give me some help and direct me to, again, corporations and grant money that would help the charity grow. I just want to be able to give more bags to more people because there are so many people out there. Um, if I can just ramble on for a second
Of
more, the
course. Yeah.
difficult thing for the government, I sympathize with some people like the government's not doing anything, but the government's kind of set up to do a one-stop solution. Like this is the solution, we're going to fix it. And with the unhoused, you have so many different types of people. Again, people on drugs, people who are schizophrenic, people who have fallen through the cracks, people who are very independent and have just found themselves living on the street. So there's not one answer that solves the problem. You have to have various answers for various different people. And that's a little bit difficult for the government to do at
Wow.
times.
So Los Angeles obviously is a very expensive market. What do you
Yes.
see as a way forward for a long-term solution, both for the government and NGOs such as yours?
It's tough. Housing is very important, but you get into all these difficulties of, okay, we're going to build an apartment building. Like LA tried to build a few apartment buildings for people who were unhoused, and the city would pay for it. And you find a great place, and then understandably, the people in that neighborhood are, not in my backyard. I don't
Yeah.
want that there, and so it's very difficult to find a place. Um, frankly, I don't even have a solution for a long-term thing. The frustrating thing, I think, from a justice standpoint, is there is a lot of money out there, and there is enough money to feed everybody in the world and to house everybody in the world. It's how do we get there? I'm not quite sure. I just know that for me, um, the bags are the answer. This is what I can do, and so I try
Yes.
to help that way.
Incredible.
How did you come up with the name Bags and Grace?
Oddly enough, my one of my best friends, his name is Rob Ganell. He's on our board of directors. And I'm a Christian and he's an atheist, staunch atheist. And we have so much fun talking about, the world and God and no God and all the universe and all that kind of stuff. And I was trying to think up a name and he actually came up with a name. But we're not a Christian charity. We're not affiliated with church or anything like that. Um, and I worked in marketing. And so I was like, it's got to be something that's clever. And he was like, bag, you're giving out bags. So let's do bags, and grace. And he's the one who came up with grace. And I was like, you're an atheist and you were thinking of grace. Ha ha ha. So I was making fun of him.
Oh, that's great.
It's a great name.
It
And I
is.
think some people are like, why not bags of grace? That to me is a little like, oh, I'm giving you grace. And that's not what happens. I kind of think I get more grace than the people I give the bags to. So I liked bags and grace not only from a marketing standpoint, BAG, I can't do my favorite. I'm looking at myself opposite. Um, but it's like the grace goes both ways because I tend to be so moved every time I go out, and people who come fill the bags are moved. But when people get in the truck with me and go out on the street and directly interact with the unhoused that we're giving the bags to, it's very life changing for anybody that does it,
Yeah.
myself included.
I think it made me a better person. Just been, coming down last week. It was incredible. So going back, just knowing you're spending a lot of time, obviously, as the CEO of your charity, are you still doing anything artistic? Are you writing,
Yes.
directing?
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things about, as you guys know, in the entertainment industry, you're not really working usually 9 to 5 jobs, unless
Yes.
you're a series regular or something like that. So even if I'm editing a TV show or if I'm screenwriting, I can screenwrite at 2 in the morning. I can edit the TV show at 6 at night. So I'm blessed in the fact that the career I'm working right now, I'm also a college professor. Again,
Yeah.
that's very weird, strange hours. I can always find a few hours to, and I've set up my office here. So I just stay here a lot. And if I have 10 minutes, I start filling bags. And then if I need to drive from here to somewhere else, there's always bags in the car and I start distributing them. I do have specific times each week that I go out, but I'm lucky enough to be able to do all my various careers and still run the charity. Not the problem. I was going to say the problem is um, when I turned it into an actual 501(c)(3). So
Yeah.
you get a tax donation, for instance, if you donate, very important. But when we turned into an actual real live charity, a friend of mine said, "Be careful because everybody I know who has started a charity, it takes over the life," and that's 100% happening to me. I spend more
Wow.
and more time on it each week because
Wow.
the need is so great, and I am changed every time I go out and distribute bags.
Do you get to the point where people recognize you and, you know where you're
Yes.
going to go, or they're excited to see you? And
I try to kind of spread the wealth. And again, it's not like I mean, we've given out over 15,000 bags since we
wow.
started, but um, I try to spread the wealth so that I'm not every day just giving bags to the same people.
Hmm.
But when I'm out, and a lot of times the people who are unhoused, they're on this corner for a while and then they move or they move to a different city. There are times that I find people who are fixed in one location for a while. And what's great about that is for those people, I can then actually bring fresh food. I can run and go buy, if they have a grill out on the street, I can go buy them, fresh steaks or
Oh,
hot dogs
wow.
or
Wow.
hamburgers to grill. I met a man who had broken his eyeglasses, and I was able to find for $15 his prescription on Amazon and get
Oh.
those glasses and bring them back to him.
Oh,
Same for somebody
wow.
with shoes. So it's kind of a little of both.
Yeah.
I try to just be meeting new people all the time, but when I see somebody who is fixed, I can help them in a different way, I would
Wow.
say.
So, Tom, there are a lot of people who are going to be watching this episode and obviously listening to us as well. Just tell us a little bit about Tom. That's Tom who grew up in Austin, Texas.
And it was college, by the way. I went to college in Austin. I actually grew up on the coast in a little town called Port Arthur, Janis Joplin's hometown. It's a
Ah,
big
wow.
kind of thing. Um, yeah, I grew up in a very diverse town, which I appreciate very much. And my junior high and high school were quite diverse. And I don't know, I'm just a movie nerd and a book nerd, and I'm proud to be a nerd. I'm gay. I don't know. I was just raised by parents who our door was always open. There was always somebody sleeping on the couch or in the guest room. And my parents were just such great models of giving. I think it just rubbed off. So people are always asking, like, why do you do this? And I'm like, I don't know. I was driving down the street and somebody needed food, so I'm going to give them food. That's just what you do. Um,
Incredible. Good for you. Do you get to
uh,
go back and visit family?
I do. In fact, I'm going to Texas next week. My parents died very young, but I still have a
Mm.
brother. My dad was the first of 10, so his side of the family is this explosion of a family tree.
Wow.
Because I have 9 aunts and uncles, his younger brothers and sisters, and I think I have like 40 first cousins on that side of the family. So it's a great, big, wonderful Catholic family, and we have a very good time together. So I'm going to
Nice.
see them shortly.
Do you have any projects that you're working on now?
I do. I wrote a script there about George Washington. I was hired to write a script about George Washington. They're going to shoot it in the fall,
Oh,
and
wow.
that's going to lead to a TV series about the American Revolution that I'll be on.
Amazing.
I have two scripts of my own that have been optioned that hopefully will get made. And like everybody, I have my requisite novel that I'm over half finished and am trying to finish. So
It's
I'm always
amazing.
working on that when I have spare time.
Incredible.
It
So,
doesn't seem like you'd have spare time.
I don't sleep very much. It's true.
oh my
Okay.
gosh.
Okay.
So, going back to the homeless or the unhoused issues, how do you stay protected? Because obviously, some of those people are, I mean, dangerous not because they're violent, but dangerous because of drugs. So, how do you protect yourself?
Or desperate. I'll be frank, I just don't worry about it. I feel like God's in control. And so even during COVID, I was running around on the
Yeah.
streets, hugging people. I just didn't worry. I just don't worry about it. There have been a couple of times where I was in a situation. I was like, "Oh, you probably shouldn't have walked down this street at this time of night." I go out at night a lot because that's when a lot of people are up and out, and I just I don't worry about it. I feel like God's in control, so I feel like I'm being protected. It may be naive, but it's I've been okay so far.
Wow.
I know that these are pretty touchy subjects for a lot of people, and it's become, a pandemic for the unhoused. Have you encountered any families, like, little ones,
Oh,
things like?
definitely.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Again, majority tend to be men, but I do run into quite a few women. I mean, on Easter, when I did our big Easter delivery, I ran into a number of families and a few single moms with their kids. And so I try to pay
Mm.
special attention to them or try to find out exactly what they need. And I can go get it maybe and come back and give it to them. Um, there's just so many people out there and it keeps growing
Yeah.
and the resources seem to be shrinking, even though there's a lot of money. So people are getting, I think, desperate. So again, I encourage anyone listening to, at the very least, if you could give us a donation, you get a tax deduction, and
Mhm.
I promise 100% of your donation will go to these bags and helping somebody stay alive.
Amazing. So, for someone like you who's always busy between your charities and obviously writing, what do you do to keep yourself just totally zen and, just away from work? Or do you even have time?
Oh no, I do. I love to cook, so I have a blog on food and film.
Oh,
You can go to. It's
wow.
got a lot of recipes and a few
Oh,
videos and
perfect.
lots of cooking
Recipes. I
stuff
love
and
recipes.
stuff about movies too. So for me, I've got a funny story with this, but for me to relax is to go home, make a martini, and cook dinner. So
There
there's
you go.
Nice. Wow.
oftentimes people at my house, friends will come over for dinner um, because I like to cook, and that some people cooking stresses them out,
Hmm.
Oh, I love it.
zones me out. It's kind of a zen thing,
I'm
and
learning you and I have the same things. We love the same things. We love the scary movies. We wanted to act at a certain age. It's crazy. And food.
What's your
yeah,
favorite meal that you love to
Yeah.
cook?
gosh, I mean, I love pasta.
Oh,
See?
Uh,
my
I just love
goodness.
us. We had a cattle farm growing up, and so our cheapest meal for my parents, because we had cows, was steaks, and
Yeah.
so we like 3 times a week would have a steak and baked potato, and so baked
Nice.
potatoes are my favorite things to do. And so I always joke, my brother and I are probably the only kids in the world who were like, "Oh my God, can we please have hamburger helper or tacos?" Because I'm sick and tired of steak, and my parents would be like, "You should be thankful." We're like, "But we're having it every night." So,
Meat and
and
potatoes.
Wow.
the other one I was going to tell, just the because I love a gin martini, is my dad had a martini every night, and we
Wow.
loved olives, and so he would make
Oh,
his martini, and there was just four of us: mom, dad, my brother, and I. My dad, first of ten, he had had enough, so they only had two kids. Anyway, when he made his martini, he would put four olives on
wow.
the toothpick
Mhm.
Yeah.
and put it in his martini, and then about halfway through the drink, he'd pull it out and pass it around, and we'd each eat an olive.
Oh my gosh, how
So
funny.
from the time I was 3 years old, every night I had a gin soaked olive.
Oh, there you
So
go.
by the time I was in college, as Eliza Doolittle says in My Fair Lady, it's my joke. She's like, gin was mother's milk to me. And so
Oh
Hmm.
my
I've
god.
loved gin from an early age.
That's so funny. It reminds me of my ex, this Greek guy that I was dating. That's what he did as well. Like he loved martinis and olives, like 4 olives. It had to be 4. It was like very funny.
Yep.
They're so good.
Dry or not dry?
At one point, I was very dry, but the original martini actually was half vermouth and half gin,
Yeah.
and I now like a fairly healthy splash of vermouth. I mean, not
Wow.
half,
Okay.
but I don't mind a splash. My mom's mom, Honey, we called her Honey, my grandmother,
Aw.
not to go off on gin, but she also loved a gin martini, and she would take a fifth of gin. And all right, so like this is your fifth of gin. She would take off the cap and pour out just a cap full of gin and drink it. She'd put a cap full of vermouth and pour it back in, and then shake up the bottle and put it in the freezer because gin doesn't freeze. And then she just poured out of the bottle every night. That was her martini.
Wow. Oh my
I do
gosh.
that sometimes, actually.
Learning something new.
Right. That's all these different thoughts and ways of
Exactly.
Since
doing
you
it.
asked, since you
Yeah.
asked.
So, Tom, you're just an incredible person. I mean, the fact that you're doing this, you have this charity, you're teaching as well. What is your advice for anyone out there in different parts of the world or here in America who wants to become an entertainer? I mean, it's not an easy industry. So, what's your advice to anyone out there or anyone who wants to start
Yeah.
a business, right?
Absolutely.
You just got to work hard and learn your craft. It's very easy. And I talk to my students about this a lot. It's very easy to look at certain people who are very successful, very young, but that's a really, really small percentage of people who become successful in whatever industry. But let's take the entertainment industry. It's easy to look at someone like Damon Chazelle, who is great and who came right out of USC and made Whiplash for no money and became famous.
Yeah.
But for most people, like stories I love, or Olympia Dukakis or John Mahoney, even Meryl Streep, wasn't like famous when she was 21.
Yeah.
Those are people who studied their craft, whether it's writing, directing, singing, whatever it is, you study your craft. And so that even if you're 45 years old or 50, like Olympia Dukakis, when you finally get that break, you're ready to go. So my best advice is first, work hard on your craft and then just keep going. I'm a big advocate of last man standing. I guess I should say last person standing, but a lot of people out here, I mean, you guys know in our industry, you see people come and go for very good reason. I don't
Yes.
like it. I have friends who all of a sudden I have 3 kids and so I've got to go do something else to make sure my family's okay. But if you just keep trying and you just keep working and get better at your craft, at some point it's going to pay off. And if I can go on one more, it's also just be open to other opportunities.
Yes.
So like a good friend of mine, all he wanted to do was be a writer director, and he made a film. And when he was on that film, he realized he was a much better producer than a writer director. And now he's become one of the best indie producers in the business.
Wow.
So, and it was like for me, all I wanted to do was be on the silver screen, but I've had much more success behind the camera.
Yeah.
Just be open to maybe something different than exactly what you think you want to do.
Incredible advice.
Yeah, I've always wanted to dabble in a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
When it came to that, directing, producing, writing,
Yeah.
wanted to do all of it and be in front of the camera. So it was.
And see, that's great advice too.
Yeah.
And if you're trying a little bit of everything, you might land on this one thing. You're like, oh, that's the thing I really want to focus on.
Exactly. Sometimes it's things that you never even thought of. So.
Exactly.
Yeah. So looking back at where you are and all that you've been able to achieve, has it been worth it? Has your journey so far, has this been worth all the struggles and where you are?
It has, definitely. It has. And I've definitely had my struggles in my life, believe me. Some very difficult times, including, ironically, doing the unhoused charity. My house burned down 3 years ago, and I lost everything. So I was without, I literally had no boxers or socks. Or like I was in Target the next day buying clothes. So,
Oh my God. Wow.
so I've had difficult times, but it all is 100% worth it.
Wow.
And I would say what makes it worth it for me is that support network of people that I have that love me and care for me. And when the house burned down, good friends took care of me and made sure I was okay.
Oh, Tom, I'm so sorry to hear
that.
that.
Yeah, that's
wow.
hard.
And after all of that you went through, here you are today, still doing this. Seriously, what an incredible person you are. I mean, it's amazing. Can you imagine? Almost
you.
losing everything. Like,
Thank you.
gosh. So, I mean, I'm just at awe that you worked with, or did you write something that Morgan Freeman was? How?
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, my first big writing credit was a movie called Under Suspicion that stars Morgan Freeman and Gene Hackman.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
And
And
that was your first
as
writing.
the right, it was, yeah, it's the first thing.
Wow.
As the writer, you never meet anybody, but I mean, they're both wonderful people, and
Yeah.
I was very thankful to have that job for sure. Yeah.
Was it an easy transition, though, transitioning from an actor to behind the camera, or was it easy for you?
You know, in some ways, I don't see it as a quote transition because I still act when I get the chance. And believe me, if somebody called up and said, "Hey, you want a part on a sitcom?" I'd throw everything away and go do it because I love doing it, right? Um, but I had been to film school, and I was frankly winning awards for my writing from teenage years on. So
Wow.
um, my mom was a professor, and she taught my brother and I both how to read by the time we were three, and I was always writing. So I guess in some ways it just seemed natural. Again, just a movie nerd. I was just like, okay, I bet I can write a movie. Let's try it and see what happens. And it
Nice.
went okay. I mean, I've learned a lot. The very first screenplay I wrote that I still have is I read it now and it's very embarrassing. It's terrible.
Wow.
How old were you?
That I was 28 when I
Okay.
wrote that first one.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
God awful.
Yeah, one of the questions that people seem to ask me all the time is how do you handle rejection in an industry that 98% of the time
Is
you're going to get
rejection.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
rejection. So how do you handle it?
It's tough. I mean, you have to have a thick skin. You have to be, I don't know what the word is, confident or narcissistic or arrogant enough to when 50 people in a row tell you you're not good enough, you're like, well, F you, I am, and I'm going to keep going. You have to have a very hard head to bang against the wall over and over again.
Yeah.
But believe me, in everything I've done, whether it's acting or writing or directing, I've had nights where you lie awake at night or cry or just want to give up, you know.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
one of my favorite writers, Flannery O'Connor, she calls it the dark night of the soul. Where at 3 in the morning it just seems like the world is ending and nothing can be right. And I have a lot of those nights still. I definitely do.
Wow.
You
Wow.
just, I mean, I could fall over on the floor and cry, or you just keep going. And so
Right.
I just
Yeah.
keep banging my head against the wall.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I've got a very hard head. So
So it goes to show that you can still be successful and still have those times and feelings. You
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's always something you're auditioning for or trying to get that you don't get. And I'm very thankful. I'm successful in that, my bills are paid and I have a good career and stuff like that. But I'm certainly, you know, there are a lot of people who are, quote, make a ton more money than me or have famous names and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite
Th-
movie or TV project that you worked on?
oh, that I worked on? As an actor, it was this big debacle called Sequest. This was years ago. It was at the
Sequest.
time, it was the most expensive
Wow.
TV show ever made. It was on
Is that the
NBC, and
DSV or
I was,
something like
it
that?
was a submarine
Yeah, so
underwater, and
Sequest
I was,
DSV or something like that, wasn't it?
yes, it was
Okay.
DSV.
Did
Roy
it have
Scheider was in it.
Jonathan? No, did it have
Yes,
Jonathan
God
Brandis
bless
and
him. Yes,
yes? Oh,
Jonathan
bless his heart.
Brandis. Yeah. But so I was an officer on that. I got to do a lot of stunt work. That was fun.
Nice.
And a few years ago, I wrote and directed my own film called The Presence. It's a ghost story with Mira
Oh,
Sorvino and Shane West. And
Ooh.
I'm the movie's harshest critic, but I'm also proud of it.
nice.
You can
What's
rate
your
it anywhere.
What's your advice for anyone out there who want like you moved from Austin to LA and people always wonder, but how do you as an actor, how do you navigate getting into the industry? So what's your advice for anyone who wants to move to LA?
If it's acting, it's come here, get a job, make sure you have a place to live. That's very important. So I waited tables for 12 years. It's a perfect job for an actor, and I did it for a very long time. But I think it's really important to have a grounded place you can go to when you have those tough days. Are just I don't know. Charlize Theron lived out of her car for a while, right? But
Yeah.
but I don't advocate that. Um, and then just work on your craft. So there's a phrase. It's like preparation and opportunity is what gives you success. I'm mangling it, but it's something like that. So that if if you've done the preparation, if you've worked on your
Yeah.
craft hard enough, and all of a sudden you get the opportunity, then something good will happen.
Yes.
So that would be my advice. And don't judge yourself by other people, because if you start looking at other people and their career trajectories, they're all going to be
Yes.
different than yours.
Yeah.
And if you're judging yourself because it's taking you a little bit longer to get somewhere than them, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's your trajectory, and don't judge yourself by them.
Incredible. Tom, it's been incredible having you here. We're at the
Thanks for
3-minute
having me.
mark. So we have this question that we always ask guests.
Uh-oh.
If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Tina Turner, huge Tina Turner fan. And she just seems like the coolest person in the world. Um, Gosh, that's you're flummoxing me. I should have like some clever answer like Jesus, but that's
That's a
not
good
what
one.
it would
Then,
be.
yeah.
That's not what it'd be. I think I would say Winston Churchill.
Okay.
Wow, I like
Isn't
that
that
one.
the second one?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
the second
I
person to
like
say
that
Winston
one.
Churchill.
Yes.
Interesting.
He was my mom's hero, and so I know a lot about him. And he just seems like such an interesting, fascinating guy. And he's also someone who went through so many careers, up and downs, and failure. And uh, Betty Davis.
Oh, that's a wonderful. Tom, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
For
This
having
has
me. I
been
appreciate
such an
it.
inspiring, wonderful interview with you. For anyone listening, please go to bagsandgrace.com to find out about how you can donate bags. Or
Yes, help us
Tom
with our bags.
and Tom is actually on Facebook as well. So it's Facebook. What's your Facebook is?
Everything's just Bags and Grace. At Bags and Grace, you can find us Instagram, Facebook, and then you can find me through. I have 2 websites of my own, on foodandfilm.com,
Okay,
and also my industry one is cinemalanguage.org.
incredible.
And if people want to help fill bags or help you go out
Just
to distribute,
go to the website. You can email me through the website, and we'll schedule a time for you to come down and fill bags. I would love that.
Fabulous.
Incredible. Thank you so much for joining us, Tom. You're doing such an amazing work. You are such an inspiration to so many people, including me. So thank you for everything that you're doing. Melissa, this has been a great interview with Tom. I feel so inspired just to go out and continue to help others.
Yes.
What did you take away from this?
the caring, giving, generosity, things that every day you don't think about.
Yes.
And putting yourself in a different position and looking at it through a different pair of eyes, to be able to know that, because I do have some downtime,
Yeah.
and that downtime I can spend with helping Tom fill bags, or,
Of course,
going
I
out
like
and
that.
helping
Yes.
to distribute those bags.
Let's-
Because what does it take away from you to be a to give your time? It doesn't give anything. It doesn't cost anything to help.
So let's do that. I
Yeah.
think it's such a great mission. I love his mission.
I do too.
What he's all about. And another takeaway for me is anyone out there, do not give up. It's if you're an actor, it's not it's a very difficult industry, but never ever give up.
No.
Always believe in yourself. Tom is such an inspiration to many others. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this wonderful episode with Tom. So again, remember to check him out, bagsandgrace.com, and see how you can donate, or go down to his downtown location in LA to see how you can help with the fill the bags. So watch us every Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific time on iHeartRadio, Google, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever podcast is available. We're also on the Discovery Pod with Eve's YouTube channel. So again, thank you so much for joining us. This was such a wonderful episode, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.